Afternoon.
Good afternoon po, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon po.
Hello. I cannot hear you. I'm having a problem with the sound. I know that
Good
you can
afternoon,
hear
ma'am.
me. So
Afternoon,
wait
ma'am.
for a while, 5 minutes. No, we'll try to fix this. 5 minutes. Hello. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes po, ma'am.
Yes po.
Camera on, please. Hello, camera on. Okay. Um, I'm having a sound problem. Kung uubutin ko yung yung cord, kayo pinipili ko. Pero ngayon, nagkasaksak siya. You can hear me, I can hear you. So, what is more important is that I can hear you kasi tayo ay may restriction. So, meron tayong from that number. We have sino yung sinabi ko nauna. Yung binigyan ko man sa alas time na siya nauna.
Ma'am Vera, okay po.
Okay, so we start now with Miss Biromoy. Okay?
Kita na po yung presentation, tapos clear po ba yung voice ko?
Yes po. Yes po.
Okay po, thank you. So, before I will start my discussion, kinig po ba ako? So, before I will start my discussion, first may I call on Mr. Verio to lead the prayer. Mr. Verio.
Yes. So let's pray po. Dear Lord, we thank you for today. You allowed us to have another day to praise you and see your glory. Thank you for the love and protection. Bless us, Father, with your wisdom as we begin our online class today. Lord, we thank you and let your will be done in our lives. We ask all this in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen.
Mighty God, thank you that you hear and answer our prayers. Hear our prayer in the midst of our meeting today. Thank you that your presence comes in the troubled sea of life and speaks peace to our souls. So thank you so much for the prayer, Mr. Verio. So good day to each and every one of you. My name is Gilbert Abrongay, and for today, I'm going to report my topic is all about simple tense. So first, let me explain what is simple tense. Simple tense is a category of tense. It covers the simple past tense, the simple present tense, and the simple future tense. The three simple tenses express facts or habitual activities. Unlike the other tenses, the simple tenses describes actions without specifically stating whether the action are completed or ongoing. Be aware that the simple present tense is an oddity. Despite its name, it is not always about activities in the present. The simple present tense can be used for activities that are not currently happening, and it can be used for future events. The three simple tenses are the simple past tense, the simple present tense, and the simple future tense. So, what is a simple past tense? Anytime before the present time, the past tense can refer to a time as recent as a minute ago or a distance ago. What is the meaning of simple past tense? The simple past tense in English is used to express an action that happened at a certain time of point in the past time. The following section discusses the definition of the simple past tense with examples of different verbs. So the simple past tense, regular verbs. Simple past tense is used to show that an action happened at a specific time in the past. For regular verbs, the simple past tense is formed by adding be or ed, the simple form of the verb. For example, wash, past, ed equals washed. Equals washed. Okay? So, and then, past tense of the verb is ate plus be equals stated. Okay, so so next is example of the simple past tense. So number 1, we stopped at the post office this morning. In this sentence, stop is the verb in the simple past tense. The adverbial phrase this morning is marker of 1 point in the past. So number 2, last night, Jane studied for English exam. Studied is the verb in the past tense. So last night is the adverbial phrase that refers to a certain time in the past. So next is number 3. 5 years ago, I visited Nova Scotia in Canada. In this sentence, visited is the simple past tense of the verb to visit. The adverbial phrase 5 years ago indicates a point in the past. So next, number 4. I crumbled some feta cheese on my salad. In this example, crumble is the verb in the simple past tense. So next, simple past tense irregular verbs. Well, the majority of the verbs in English language are regular verbs. There are enough irregular verbs in English to confuse writers. Irregular verbs are verbs that do not follow a specific pattern to form the past tense. The following table shows example of irregular verbs in the present and the past tense. So in the left side is irregular verbs, present tense, and the right side is irregular verbs, past tense. So run, run, read, read, fly, flew, throw, threw, swim, swam, write, wrote, sing, sang, drink, drunk, sink, sunk, eat, and ate. So next is simple present tense. There are 2 key facts to remember. First, simple present tense shows habitual or frequent action or facts. It is used for scheduled future events, commands, sports commentaries, and some narrative stories. Second, simple present tense is formed using the base or root form of the verb, the form of the verb that heads the dictionary entry. For the third person, singular form of the verb, simple present tense adds an s or es to the end of the word. To describe facts and habits, so for example, Gilbert loves Professor Ramos. In the sentence, it is described facts. Why? Because we all know Professor Ramos is a professional teacher since when she passed board exam. And also, Professor Ramos is one of her student class is my sister. And then my sister told me that Professor Ramos is very excellent in teaching and also strict sometimes. So for the next example is, he plays chess. In the sentence, it describes habits. I'll show you the picture. This is me, always playing chess when I was a child up until now. And it is described facts. Why? Because this is one of my favorite sports. So next, to describe scheduled events in the future. For example, the plane arrives at 7 o'clock. So next, Professor Ramos arrives at 1:30 p.m. in the Google Meet on Monday. Next, number 3, to tell stories, particularly jokes, to make your listener or reader feel more engaged with the story. For example, a skeleton walks into a bar and says, "Give me a beer and mop." Do you think skeleton walks into a bar, then a shot of beer and then mop the floor? No, because because they don't have muscle or body like us. So next is the simple future tense. The simple future tense is a verb tense that used to talk about things that haven't happened yet. So for example, this year, Gilbert will read War and Peace. The simple future tense is will, and the root form is read. So next, number 2, it will be hard, but she's determined to do it. The simple future tense is will, plus the root form is be. Use the simple future tense to talk about an action or condition that will begin in the and end in the future. How to form the simple future? The future or the formula for the simple future is will plus root form of verb. So for example, I will learn a new language. So will is the simple future plus the root form of verb learn. So number 2, Gilbert will read that book. So the simple future is will plus the root form of verb read. Can you give me example of this simple future? Anyone of the class? Hello po.
Ako po.
Sige po, sino po sila?
Kanha.
Can you say, okay po, Miss Kanha?
My brothers will sleep till noon if no one wakes them up. So that's will is the simple future is sleep. Root form will is the simple future. Root form of verb is sleep.
Okay, thank you so much. So let's move on to the next. It doesn't matter if the subject is singular or plural. The formula for the simple future doesn't change. But is another way to show that something will happen in the future. It follows the formula am or is or are plus going to plus root form verb. So for example, I am going to learn a new language. So am is the helping verb plus going to plus the root form verb is learn. So number 2, Gilbert is going to read that book. So is the helping verb plus going to plus the root form verb is read. Can you give me an example? Anyone po?
Jose.
Okay, Miss Jose.
The example is you will see what I mean. Will is the simple future plus the root form of verb is sleep.
Okay, thank you so much.
Si pala, sorry.
So, the going to construction is common in speech and casual writing. Keep in mind, though, that is only informal side, so it's a good idea to stick to the will plus form construction in formal writing. Next is how to make simple future negative. To make a simple future negative, the formula is will plus not plus root form. So for example, Carla will not quit before she reaches her goal. So the simple future is will plus not plus root form quit. So next is using the going to construction. The formula is am or is or are plus not plus not plus going to plus root form. So for example, Shari is not going to quit before she reaches her goal. Is the helping verb plus not plus going to plus the root form quit. Okay, so next is how to ask question. To ask a question in the simple future, the formula is will plus subject plus root form. For example, will Gilbert finish War and Peace over the summer? So the simple future is will plus the subject is Gilbert plus the root form is finish. And the last is the formula for the going to construct is am or is or are plus subject plus going to plus root form. So for example, what are you going to buy with the money you found? So are is the helping verb plus the subject is you plus going to plus root form buy. So I have an activity for today. True or false? So can you answer this number one? Anyone po?
Danyo po.
Carabeo.
Danyo po.
The first one po yung nagsalita. Si ano na lang?
Santiago.
Santiago po.
Okay, Santiago.
Number
Miss-
1. Simple tense is a category of verb tense. The answer is true.
Correct. Excellent. So next, number two.
Carabeo.
So Miss Carabeo.
The simple past tense describes a complete activity that happened in the past. The answer is true.
Okay, thank you so much. Excellent. So number three.
Miss Danyo.
Miss Muwanag po.
Number 3, the simple present tense is a complex tense. The answer is true.
Excellent. So next.
Reyes be.
Patrice, Duarte.
Miss Gabrice.
Number 4, the simple future tense used for an action that will occur in the future. The answer is true.
Wow, you know that one, huh? So next one.
Reyes
Number
be.
5.
Buyog.
Miss Reyes.
Danyo.
The simple present tense can be used for activities that are not currently happening, and it can be used for future events. The answer is true.
Wow, excellent. So next. So for exercise for simple past tense, write down the correct form of the verb given in the bracket to make the sentence into a simple past tense. So number 1, anyone?
Buwanag.
Buyog.
Reyes be.
Danyo be.
Buwanag be.
Mr. Danyo?
You blank my window glass. The answer is broke.
Wow, nice. So next, number 2.
Carabeo.
Buyog po.
Austria.
Miss Austria po.
I blank something near that. The correct answer is true.
What po? Ano po?
The correct answer is so.
Okay. So next, number 3.
Buyog.
Carabeo.
Carabeo, Miss Carabeo.
He blank from London sometimes ago. He blank from London sometimes ago. The answer is come. Came pala, came.
Okay, nice. So number 4.
Buwanag.
Buyog po.
Buwanag.
Miss
Duarte
Echalas.
She blank an iPhone. The answer is bought.
Okay, nice. So Number 5, last.
Gabris.
Okay, Miss Gabriz.
She blank any of them met for the mission. The answer is did not choose.
Okay, perfect. So next exercise, so fill the blank with the correct simple present tense. So number 1,
Balasabas.
Miss Orhel.
Duarte.
Okay,
Reyes, be.
next. Number 2,
Muanag, be.
Reyes.
Sambere po.
Muanag.
Miss Reyes.
The earth blank round the sun. The answer is revolves.
Nice. So next, number 3,
Muanag.
Miss Joyce.
Yes po. The baby blank all day. The answer is cry. The baby cry all day.
Okay, thank you. Next,
Balasabas.
Balasabas. Mr. Balasabas.
The flight blank at 8 o'clock in the morning. The answer is leaves.
Okay, thank you so much. And lastly, number 5,
Muanag, be.
Miss Muanag.
What blank so good? The answer is smells. What smells so good?
Nice. You got that one, huh? So
Thank you,
next,
be.
the last is simple future tense. Number 1, please.
Tiago po.
Miss Santiago.
Number 1, the audience blank after this magic trick. The answer is will clap.
Okay, thank you so much. Number 2, Miss Ebales.
What will you do if I blank you to this hospital? Will admit.
Okay,
What will you
nice.
do if... Okay.
Yes. Okay, thank you so much. Number 3,
Bernaldez.
Miss Bernaldez.
Duarte. So don't panic. She blanked this t-shirt from the dryer. The answer is will dry.
Okay, thank you. So number 4, Miss Duarte. Miss Duarte.
He blank a pilot within a week. The, he will not become.
Okay, thank you. So last is number 5,
Chenes.
Miss Chenes.
I blank all the fruits on the table. The answer is I will eat.
So yon, thank you so much. Thank you for listening. I hope you learned something from my report. This is me, Gilbert Barangay. This is all done. Thank you so much po. Ma'am. Ma'am, wala po kayong
Hello, hear me now? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes po.
Thumbs up kung naririnig ninyo ako.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, thumbs up. Okay. Kasi nga, ang problem is the sound. Pag tinanggal ko yung cord sa sound ko, maririnig ko kayo. Pag sinaksak ko yun, hindi ko kayo maririnig. Ako maririnig nyo. Kaya we are having a hard time. Pero kanina dito sa ating chat box, si Gabri, si Juan, yung mga si Reyes, nagsisipag-raise ng kamay kasi they wanted to recite. Eh, hindi naman di ako maririnig eh. And then somebody got angry already, nanangawit na daw siya, napapagod ko alam kung sino yung sumigaw kasi she's not being recognized. But I cannot do anything because ganito nga ang situation and I am calling my doctor to help me. Pero talaga kailangan ng person din niyang ayusin and she's in Pasay. So nagtataka ako na puputin ko to para magpaka-report lang kayo. So ito, basta tuloy-tuloy lang ha. So like, ang kasunod niyan, pagkatapos ng mag-report, diretso hindi ko na kailangan isaksampa. I cannot make comment kasi nga kailangan hugutin ko na naman. Baka masira lang. So ito na, ang kasunod, we have ang si Kasin, then it will be followed by Castillo, and then Chalas, and hopefully Big. Sunod na agad yung isa. So I'll just be listening and grading. I cannot comment. Kasi talagang hindi tayo makakaribigan. Ano? So okay, please start now, Mr. Kasim.
Hello, good afternoon. Do you hear me, guys?
Yes po.
Yes.
Hello? Hello?
Yes po, rinig po.
Alright, so good afternoon there. So, extraction. So, there might be some instances. That my words is kind of like bulol. I'm sorry for the word. And medyo namamahid pa yung left face and dila ko. So, please bear with me. So, here is my topic, the grammatical linguistics. Do you hear me, guys?
Yes po.
Yes.
Yes.
Alright, thank you so much. So, in linguistic, grammaticality is determined by the conformity to language usage as derived by the grammar of a particular speech variety. So, the notion of grammaticality rose alongside the theory of generative of linguistics that studies the form and structures of words and the way in which the units of sentence structure are combined in sentence. It is called the syntax. So, what is grammatical linguistics? In linguistics, the grammar of a natural language is its set of structural constraints on speakers or writers, composition of clauses, phrases, and words. So for this one, for the grammatical linguistic, this is the way the speaker or the writers compose their speech, words, or something. And then what is grammatical and example? So the definition of grammatical is anything that has to do with sentences, punctuation, or the correct ways to write or speak a language. An example of something grammatical is a class on English, creative writing. It's such as a adjective. So what are the types of grammar in linguistics? So in English, there are two kinds of grammar, which is the prescriptive grammar and the descriptive grammar. So prescriptive grammar. It is the traditional approach of grammar that tells people how to use the English language, what forms they should utilize, and what functions they should serve. So prescriptive grammar is essential as it helps people use formal English speech and writing. So what is the prescriptive grammar? So for example, a grammarian might be explaining that you should never end a
a sentence with a preposition or that starting a sentence with a conjunction like and or but. It is a big no-no. This type of reference, which tells you to how to speak so-called correct English, can be referred to as a prescriptive grammar. So here are the example of prescriptive grammar. So who wants to read the number one, the bullet number one? Hello?
Chalas.
Go, Mrs. Chalas.
We are to go quickly into store as opposed to we are to quickly go into the store.
All right. So for the bullet number one, instead of saying we are to go quickly into store, so you better said that or you better say that we are to quickly go into the store. So bullet number two.
Bulog.
Go, Miss
Moana.
Leo.
You are making less money than I am, as opposed to you are making fewer monies than I am.
All right. So instead of saying you are making less money than I am, you better say that you are making fewer monies than I am. So next bullet, please.
Banyo po.
Yes.
Mr. Daniel.
He asked me to see the new house as opposed to come over and see the new house.
All right. So for this one, instead of saying visit me to see the new house, you better said that come over and see the new house. And then bullet number 4, please.
Carabeo. Carabeo. Moanag. So where are you going as opposed to where are you going to?
All right. So for this one, instead of saying to where are you going, you better say that where are you going to? Bullet number 5.
Gabris.
Kabalpin po.
Go, Miss Gabriel.
Dogs wants to howl loudly at the moon, as opposed to dogs want to loudly howl at the moon.
All right. So instead of saying dogs want to howl loudly at the moon, you better said that dogs wants to loudly howl at the moon. So last one, the bullet number 6.
Fairness.
Cabalfin.
Fairness po.
Miss Cabalfin.
Things are going well for me, as opposed to things are good for me.
All right. So instead of saying things are going well for me, you better said things are good for me. All right. So next, descriptive grammar. So what is a descriptive grammar? Descriptive grammars lay out the grammatical elements and rules of a language as it is actually used. Descriptive grammars are written by linguists who study how people create and use a language. So don't confuse descriptive grammars with pedagogical or prescriptive grammars. So what is descriptive grammars example? So some examples of descriptive grammars are the use of the word ain't for I'm not, saying she goes instead of she says, and commenting that we're good instead of saying we are doing well. So what is a descriptive grammar first? In a descriptive grammar, there is no right or wrong language. It can be contained or compared with a prescriptive grammar, which is a set of rules based on how people think language should be used. A descriptive grammar might include he goes, meaning he said. So here are the example of descriptive grammars. Who wants to read the bullet number 1?
Bernaldez po.
Go, Miss Bernaldez.
I ain't going nowhere. Accepted to mean I am not going to go anywhere.
All right. So instead of saying I ain't going nowhere, you better said that I am not going to anywhere. Bullet number 2, please.
Toledana be.
Go, Miss
are you talking to? Accepted to mean to whom are you speaking?
All right, so for bullet number 2, who are you talking to? Instead of saying that, you better said that, to whom are you speaking? So bullet number 3, please.
Miss Guerra po. Miss Guerra po.
Mrs. Guerra.
I am faster than her. Accepted to mean I am faster than she.
All right. So instead of saying, I am faster than her, you better said that I am faster than she. Bullet number 4.
Sambere.
Kabalpin po.
Miss Sambere.
You graduated to you graduated the training program. Accepted to mean you graduated from the training program.
All right. Instead of saying you graduated the training program, you better said that you graduated from the training program. All right. Bullet number 5, please.
Kabalpin po.
Go, Miss Cabalfin.
I asked him what he thought and he goes, I don't care. Accepted to mean I asked him what he thought and he said, I don't care.
All right. Instead of saying I asked him what he thought and he goes, I don't care, you better said that I asked him what he thought and he said, I don't care. So bullet number 6, please.
Negad po.
Go ahead, Miss Negad.
We're pretty good. Accepted to mean we are doing well.
All right. So for this one, instead of saying we're pretty good, you better said that we are doing well. So for the last bullet, please. Mrs.
Chalas.
Go ahead, Miss Chalas.
How'd you like those snacks? Accepted to mean what did you think about the snacks?
So instead of asking how you like those snacks, you better ask what did you think about the snacks. All right, so for this one, prescribe or describe. Spencer is using a prescriptive approach to grammar. He wants to follow and maintain the prescribed approach, the one that's been spelled out in books that tell us what we should do with our language. An example of prescriptive grammar is a situation where a teacher corrects a student who says, where we at in the textbook. So for this one, for the descriptive, Abby is interested in a descriptive approach to grammar. Instead, this person wants to describe how people use the language without regard to its correctness. An example of descriptive grammar would be a linguist who hears an English speaker say, where we at, and tries to better understand why this type of structures of sentence has been used by the speaker. So, questions. Who wants to read the number 1 question? Mr. Danyo.
Danyo po. It is determined by the conformity to language usage as derived by the grammar of a particular speech variety. The answer is linguistic.
All right. Correct. Call on the next person.
Santiago po.
Yes.
Mr. Danyo, call on the next person.
Carabeo po.
Miss Carabeo.
What are types of grammar in linguistics? It is a traditional approach of grammar that tells people how to use the English language, what forms they should utilize, and what functions they should serve.
What is the answer? Miss Carabeo.
Perspective grammar.
Correct.
And
Alright, call on the next person, Miss Carabeo.
Muwanag.
Call on the next person, Miss Carabella.
De Los Reyes.
Go ahead, Miss Dilos.
It is a grammar's layout, the grammatical elements and rules of a language as it is actually used. The answer is descriptive grammar.
All right, correct. So what is for the question number 3? Call on the next person.
De la Cruz.
Go ahead, Miss De La Cruz.
What are types of grammar in linguistics? My answer is perspective grammar and descriptive grammar.
Correct. All right, call on the last person.
Kabalpin po.
Okenda po.
Go ahead, Miss Cabalfin.
It is grammar's play on grammatic elements and rows of language that is actually used. The answer is
what
descriptive grammar.
All right, correct. That's it. Perfect. So that is my report for today's, and I hope you listen and understand my report. That's it. Thank you so much.
Okay, so good afternoon po, ma'am. Good afternoon, classmate. We are the next reporter. So our topic is the different instructional strategies. So the reporter for this topic is me, Castillo Vanessa, and my partner, Buyog Laisaan. So our objective for today's lesson is at the end of the lesson, student will be able to define differentiated instruction, identify various instructional strategies used in teaching, and lastly, employ differentiated instruction in the development of the lesson. Okay, so before we proceed to the different instructional strategies, let's define first what instructional strategy is. So instructional strategies are the techniques that teachers use to help students become independent, strategic learners. So these strategies become learning strategies when students independently select the appropriate ones and use them effectively to accomplish tasks or meet goals. So instructional strategies can motivate students and help them focus their attention, organize information for understanding and remembering, and lastly, monitor and assess their learning. Next po, Be. So now let's proceed to the first instructional strategies that I'm going to discuss. So cubing. So cubing is a technique. Cubing is a teaching strategy that helps the student look into a topic from 6 sides. So hence the cubing name. So to enable them to understand its complexity. So cubing is an instructional strategy designed to help the student think about what topic or idea from many different angles. So as you can see, a cube includes 6 commands and one of its 6 phases followed by a prompt that describe the task the student should do related to the command. So just like what I've said, each side of the cube have different activity or questions. So usually, the students will roll the cube and complete the activity or answer the questions that comes up. So cubing can be used in a small group for group activities, or it can be also used by partners or individual. So you can make cubes with questions and distribute it with your class, or you can also ask the students to make them their own cubes and write the questions in each side. So next po, Be. So the principle is to develop a strong topic by looking into it from the perspective of describing it, comparing it, associating it, analyzing it, applying it, and arguing for it and against it. So in describe it, the students will look at the subject closely, while in the compare it, they will compare, so what is it similar to, or what is it different from. Associating it, this is the phase where the students think, what does you think of? So what comes to your mind when you think of it? So it can be people, places, things, or feelings. So in analyzing it, this is where you tell how it is made. So what are the traits and attributes of it? So next is applying it. So this is where you tell what you can do with it and how can it be used. And next, lastly, argue for it or against it. This is where you take a stand or use any kind of reasoning you want. So it may be logically, silly, or anywhere in between. So next, Beb. So I have here some examples of cubing as an instructional tool. So what you see in the picture is the format of a cube. So the first thing that you need to do is to draw or trace the format. Then of course you still have to cut it and glue it to make it a cube. So you will write the questions first on each side before you fix it and put it together so it won't break. So you can see that each side have a different questions or activity attached to them. So next, Beb. So I have here another examples of cube that they might use in class. So the first side, what would you like to find out in the story? The other side tells, what questions do you have to the story? Next, how might this story relate to your life? Next side, what do the pictures on the cover tell you about the story? The other side, identify any unfamiliar words in the title. And the last side would be, what do pictures in the book tell you about this story? So cubing is a great instructional material, especially if you will use this in the elementary grades. So we all know that rolling the dice add the excitement and anticipation to the students, especially in the elementary grades. So it will take what may be a boring discussion or activity and make it fun and engaging. So next. So another instructional strategy would be RAF. So role, audience, format, and topic. So RAF is an acronym that means it is a word form from the first letters of each word in the phrase. So can anyone read what RAF is?
Toledana.
Toledana, be.
A writing strategy that aims to help the learners gain a better understanding of their role as a writer and communicator by developing their ideas through the development of a clear sense of purpose in writing.
Okay, so to make it short, RAF helps us to understand your role as a writer, the audience that they will address, the varied formats for writing, and the topic that they will be writing about. So next. So I have here the example of RAF format. So you can see that there are 4 columns. So the first column would be the role, next is the audience, next is format, and lastly is the topic. So in the role, this is where who you are as the writer. So you can be anything. So you can be a student, You can be yourself, you can be a superhero, you can be a basketball player, anything. So next is the audience. So in here, you will think, to whom are you writing with? So who is your audience? So your family, your friends, your teacher, your principal, anything. So next is the format. So what form will the writing take? Is it a letter, song, lyrics, news article, poem, story, or essay? Can be anything too. And lastly, the topic. So the topic, this is where you think what's the subject or what is the point of your piece. So can you understand po? Can you understand, class?
Yes, Beth.
Okay. So here I have example. So the first role is the newspaper reporter. So his or her audience is the newspaper reader. So the format that he's going to use is the news article. And the topic that he or she going to discuss is the current state of the Philippine Health Department. Okay, so next po. Okay, so I have here another example po. So you can see that you can see that the role, you can be anything you want. The audience, the format, it could be anything, and the topic. So next po. So now let's move on to the another instructional strategy. So which is the graphic organizer. Next be. So you can see here the different types of graphic organizer. So these are the examples of graphic organizer. So can anyone read what is graphic organizer?
Cursor po.
Cursor po.
A visual means of displaying information using combination of text and visual forming of diagram. It arrays information in such a way that it will describe their relationship with one another, therefore making the concept it tries to portray more comprehensible to those looking at the material.
Okay, thank you. So to understand more, graphic organizers are the visual and the graphic displays that organize the ideas. So they demonstrate the relationship between different information and concept. So graphic organizers are also designed to improve the learning outcomes for students, review information, and help them in arranging the information they have. So graphic organizer, just like I've said, is a visual chart and tools that used to represent and organize the student knowledge and ideas. So graphic organizers are often used as part of the writing process too, because it helps students to map up their ideas, the plots, the characters in details, and the settings before beginning to write. Aside from that, it can also be part of the reading process. So graphic organizers can help the students to comprehend what has read and make a comparison to what they have read. So graphic organizers can be also used to sequence events, analyze the cause and effect, compare and contrast, and develop the concept in detail. So now my partner will discuss the different types of graphic organizers that we can use. Buyo.
Good afternoon, everyone. The first different types of graphic organizer is KWL chart. KWL chart, an acronym for know, what to know, and learn. So a KWL chart is an organizational tool primarily used by students and teachers to direct and facilitate learning in the classroom. The KWL chart is divided into 3 columns, one for each letter, under which students select by word. First one is what they already know about the topic. Second is what they want to know or questions they have about the topic. And then third one is what they learn after the lesson or assignment. So you can use the KWL chart for both group and individual learning. KWL charts are effective tools for engaging students in the learning process, helping them recall knowledge and tracking their learning progress. While they are often used to help students improve their reading comprehension, KWL charts can be applied to any topic or lesson. This is an example of KWL chart. So, how to use KWL chart? Who would like to read, please?
Daniel.
Yes, Mr. Daniel.
The KWL chart first create a table with three columns, one for each letter KWL. Once you have your chart outlined, follow this step to fill it out before, during, and after the lesson.
Okay, start with column 1, which is no. Under the first column, have students share what they already know about or associate with the topic at hand. Have them write what they know in the K column. Fill out column 2, which is want to know. Discuss with the students what they want to learn. Then ask students to write down the specific questions they have about the topic in the W column. The last column is complete column 3, which is learned. At the end of the lesson, ask students if they found out the answer to any of their questions in the W column. Students can share what they found interesting or surprising and correct any misconceptions they might have had from column 1. Lastly, have students record a summary of what they learned in the L column. At this stage, it provides students another opportunity to review and reinforce their learning. It is also helps teachers track student progress and learning outcomes. Next types of graphic organizer is sequence chart. Who would like to read what sequence chart is? Yes, Ms. Moanag.
Sequence chart. A sequence chart is a series of events or actions set in the order of which they take place. It is considered to be a fantastic way to represent the necessary steps taken to reach the outcome.
Okay. The sequence chart is a diagram visualizes a process, progress, or sequence of a story. It presents a series of steps or events in order. So when do you need a sequence chart? You can need it in reading. Reading is an integral part of learning during the initial years of schooling. However, in reading, a more extended story can be tricky for younger students. This is when a sequence chart can assist you. Before starting a new lesson, you can segregate it in numbers or paragraphs to set a sequence. Take a break between every course to make students understand the story thoroughly. And in writing, a sequence chart can be great assistance in writing. Setting out the details one needs in a sequence will help the students to write detailed description without missing out on any point. And you can need it while doing activities. The academic years of students consists of various co-curricular activities and events. Sometimes it gets challenging to keep in mind the rules and guidelines of a game or a business. Listing it in a sequence graphic helps in reducing the confusion in such scenarios. The next types of graphics organizer is process chart. A process chart is a visual representation of the sequence of steps and decisions needed to perform a process. So, process chart. A flow chart or process chart is a picture of the separate steps of a process in sequential order. It is a generic tool that can be adapted for a wide variety of purposes and can be used to describe various processes such as manufacturing process, an administrative or service process, or a project plan. It's a common process analysis tool and one of the 7 basic quality tools. So, when to use a flowchart? You can use flowchart to develop understanding of how a process is done, to study a process for improvement, to communicate to others how a process is done, when better communication is needed between people involved with the same process, to document a process, and when planning a project. So, concept map. A concept map is a diagram or graphical tool that visually represents relationships between concept and ideas. Concept maps are visual representation of information. They can take the form of charts, graphic organizers, tables, flowcharts, Venn diagrams, timelines, or T-charts. Concept maps are especially useful for students who learn better visually, although they can benefit any type of learner. Concept maps works very well for classes or content that have visual elements or in times when it is important to see and understand relationships between different things. They can also be used to analyze information and compare and contrast. The last type of graphical graphic organizer is fishbone map. Who would like to read what fishbone map is?
Kabalpin po.
Yes,
Yes, Miss Kabalpin.
Fishbone map. A cause and effect diagram, often called a fishbone map. Fishbone diagram can help in brainstorming to identify possible causes of a problem and sorting ideas into useful categories. A fishbone diagram is a visual way to look at cause and effect.
Thank you, Ms. Kabalfin. So, a fishbone map is a cause and effect discovery tool that helps figure out the reason for defects, variations, or failures within a process. In other words, it helps break down, in successive layers, root causes that potentially contribute to an effect, sometimes called an Ishikawa diagram or cause and effect analysis. A fishbone diagram is one of the main tools used in a root cause analysis. That's the end of our report, ma'am. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
Hello po.
One. Okay, so naririnig na daw. But ayaw nyo open ang camera nyo? Oo, naririnig nyo ako pero tulog kayo. So, ang hirap na nga ng kalagayan natin. Ayaw nyo pang mag-open ng camera, pambihira naman. Makisama naman kayo. Oo. Makasamahan lang yan talaga pag online. So, I could not make any reaction to the reports. It's a very time, but the report of Ms. I don't know kung pagpapalip. So Ms. Buyog is very good. And also, Ms. Castillo, the real proponent. So next time, yung hindi naka-report, yun naman ang magre-report. Hopefully, the sound system, the sound of my computer will be. The technician told me na to stop using it ng ganyan, palitan, hugot, saksak, pagkatulan lumasira. So this afternoon, yung aking klase, so what we're supposed to do is speech choir, and then of course sorry, it has to be this way dahil makamasira lang siya lalo. So you see ang problem, kailangan isaksak ko bago ninyo ako marinig at huhuli ko naman ulit ako kayong marinig. So ang hirap at baka masira ang kaya. So thank you for those who have reported. It's already time and I can't make any comment dahil hindi tayo makapag-exchange ng ideas. I'm sorry to the reporter but if I was not able to help explain, there are things there that needs to be explained. However, I would like you to try practicing mo yung cluing. Gumawa kayo ng papel, gumawa kayo ng clue, yung style kung mabubuhin nyo yung 6 sides na ang bawat isa ay meron nakalagay na function sa harap, nakalagay na example or activities. Yun yung clue niya. So, kasi ninyo, sana kung yung reporter ay ginawa yan, may dala siyang papel, demo niya, di kayo rin sana makakasunod. So, all those activities na binigay, yung rap, yung lagi ang gusto na yan, reporters be ready for the demo para sa ating face-to-face. And then, lahat naman kayo mag-prepare din. Wala man lang kayong gamit pag-activity, magpupunting, take-up na kayo. So, magkaya kayo, basta elementary, laging may gamit yan, may gunting, may stapler, may lahat yan. Lahat yan ang inyong kit. Teacher's kit. May dala kayong eraser, may dala kayong pencil pen, may dala kayong ball pen. Yun, lahat ang ginagawa. Hindi dapat nanghihiram ang teacher. Kaya, magdala kayo ng gamit ng inyong tape, as tape or what, para makasunod kayo sa gagawing exercises. So, yung reporter may continuation. Pati po yung iba na magkakaroon ng example, yung mga chart, flow chart, yan, mga ganyan. Yan ay kailangan bigyan natin ng kaliwanagan pagdating sa face-to-face. So, magdadala kayo ng real samples. Okay? So, we cannot prolong this anymore. Kailangan ko na pumisara yung aking laptop. So, mamayang hapon, hindi na po tayo mag-iintang kasi produce na tayo. Yun ang inyong speech while ang inyong access. Okay? So, you're done. Thumbs up kung naintindihan. Okay, bye for now. Thank you. So, okay. Natatakpan nyo lang po yung aking picture. Okay, so, bye for now.